Everybody, this is Jared here with another concert review. This is going to be for Guns N' Roses at the good old Songdo Moonlight Festival Park in good old fucking Luncheon, South Korea. I'm just kidding, it's not Luncheon. It's just every time I see that, it looks like Luncheon. It's Incheon, or I don't even know how you pronounce that, but it's the start of a new tour. It is the Because What You Want and What You Get Are Two Completely Different Things tour. May 1st, 2025. Guns N' Roses back on the road for the first time in about a year and a half. I believe this is the longest hiatus ever since Slash and Duff rejoined the band that the band has had. I'm a fan, and I follow along with all of these shows a little bit more closely just because it's the first show of the tour, so interested to see if there are going to be any surprises or new songs. I didn't expect any like brand new songs, but maybe some songs that we haven't heard in a while. But yeah, this is the first show with the brand new drummer, Isaac Carpenter. Frank Ferrer is out. Frank Ferrer was in the band for a very long time. Longest tenured drummer in the band's history, actually. So it's gonna be interesting to see Isaac Carpenter come into the fold and how he was gonna do in this show. So the show started at 7 p.m. Well, it was supposed to start at 7 p.m. local time. For me, I'm on the East Coast, and it was 6 a.m. over here, but definitely didn't want to miss this for anything. So I made sure to be up at the proper time and follow along on the MyGNR forum, along with X, and also Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram, and TikTok also. A bunch of different avenues that I was following the show. And yeah, some of the songs that they soundchecked a few days prior were Better, Yesterday's, Street of Dreams, Prostitute, Perhaps, Locomotive, Wichita Lineman, Coma, Sweet Child of Mine, and Double Talk and Jive. The only video that I heard from this sound check was someone that recorded outside of the venue on the sidewalk, and it was Axl doing Coma. So he actually was there. That was an interesting thing that you don't always see every day when it comes to Guns N' Roses, Axl showing up for the sound check. So let's go ahead and get into this show now. So ever since Slash and Duff came back into the fold, they have opened with It's So Easy every single show. They've been back in the band for almost a decade now, which is insane to say. But fans have been longing for a new opening song, and that's what we finally got. The only funny thing to me about this is it was Welcome to the Jungle. So even though it's something that is new that we haven't heard in a long time as far as a new opening song, they are going back to a song that they opened with so much back in the 2000s. So I'm not complaining, just an observation. So they open with Welcome to the Jungle, and after McBob did his intro like he always does, I was interested to hear how they started this song. And normally Axl kind of just like screams to the crowd, "Do you know where the fuck you are?" and they go crazy and they bust into the song. But this go round, Axl didn't scream at all at the beginning, and Slash basically just did the opening notes, and Isaac Carpenter kind of followed right along with him, and they kind of just like flowed and transitioned right into the song. So interesting, they did Welcome to the Jungle first. It was the first time they opened with Welcome to the Jungle since 2012, which I think was just a one-off deal at the time. That Obsession, which I think is, I'm glad that they're keeping this in the set list, because I think it fits Axl's voice better to what he can handle right now than they did Mr. Brownstone, Chinese Democracy, Live and Let Die. One thing about Live and Let Die that I found humorous was Axl's screams in this song. To me, they don't even sound like like vocal high notes that we can even analyze. To me, they just sound like literally a man just screaming at this point. So I thought that was humorous. They did Slither, and then they did Perhaps. So Perhaps, the newer song, is still in the set list. One of my all-time favorite Guns N' Roses songs. Really interested to hear how Axl was gonna sound on this song, and man, he did not sound good at all. He sounded bad. He really struggled just with his, his breathing and getting these high notes out and getting all the words in. He skipped a lot of lines. Did not sound good. But overall, that kind of leads me to my next point. Axl, for this whole concert, honestly, sounded bad. And granted, he has a history of starting tours slowly, and then like as time goes on and as like more practice he gets, he sounds better. So I would assume that would happen here also. You never know, but that is something that will probably happen. Not that he's gonna sound like magnificent by the end of the tour, but this has to be like the lowest that he probably will sound during the tour. Which is like frustrating, because it's one of those things that I think musicians should really be practicing, and they should be like ready to go at the start of the tour, and like they should still be great. These people paid for tickets, but he doesn't really do that. Like the shows for him seem to be like where he sings, where he practices. So that's one thing, if you're buying a ticket, to be conscious of. Maybe get it in the middle of the tour or near the end of the tour if you are really worried about Axl's voice. But I will say, Axl's voice always sounds better in person compared to videos. So, it's just about what what your preference is. And he's also in his 60s. He's not gonna sound like he did back in the day. He's never gonna sound like that again. So I didn't go into this thinking like, oh, he's gonna sound great, or like I really have high hopes. I didn't have high hopes. I mean, I figured he would be bad, and he was. Just calling it what it is. So I hope that he does improve for sure, because he definitely had a rough night. And I just had this other thought that came to my mind while I was saying that I remembered that I wanted to mention about this specific show. They came on 30 minutes late. Have no idea why. Could have been any number of things, but that is something I did want to mention about this show. They did go on 30 minutes late for whatever reason. They did Estranged, and people were really talking about how bad Axl sounded on Estranged. They did Double Talk and Jive. And then they did Coma, which like once again, not that surprising that they played it, because they did sound check it, and like it has been in the set list a decent amount over the past few years. But once again, Axl sounded really, really bad on this song. Like, it's just, he has such a weak Mickey Mouse. It's like crazy to think that like at this point I'm almost like, I'll take Mickey Mouse, but like a strong Mickey Mouse. But we're kind of getting a weak Mickey Mouse right now, and Coma was a prime example of that. They did Sorry, which was, I think, like probably the coolest little surprise out of the whole set list. This is one they don't play super often. In the past, nowadays, in the last few years, they don't play Sorry as much. They play it like here and there, but nothing crazy. But the fans were really receptive to this song. There was a lot of people with their lights, or with their phones lit up and their flashlights on, and they were really swaying to the left and to the right, really enjoying Sorry, which really surprised me. And then they did Better. Better was one that Axl has struggled with over the last few years, and they brought it back into the set list, which is kind of surprising. There's a few of these songs that are like tough for him to sing, but they tried to do it, or he tried to do it. They did Knocking on Heaven's Door, which is pretty early in the set, and this is kind of when I started to think to myself, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be one of their like kind of alternate set lists, where it's like, for the most part, it's gonna be what you see on this tour, but this is gonna be one of those like shortened set lists for whatever reason. And it is, once again, It's called the Songdo Moonlight Festival Park. I don't know for sure if this was a festival or not, but I know a lot of times when they do festivals that they do shorten the set list, and they are on kind of time restraints. So I don't know if it's because it was a festival or just at the fact that maybe, I don't know, it's a South Korea curfew, something like that. But having Knocking on Heaven's Door this early in the set was like, it did give me cause to pause, like, oh, okay, this is going to be a shorter set. And they actually did cut down Knocking on Heaven's Door. Once again, I don't know if that was due to the time constraints or if that's just how they're playing it now, but either way, they need to keep Knocking on Heaven's Door at like a really short, really shortened version, in my opinion. All right, 14, It's So Easy. They threw It's So Easy in at number 14. I wasn't sure if they were actually going to play it, but they kind of threw it in right after Knocking on Heaven's Door. Really random spot in the set list, in my opinion. I mean, you're going from a slow song to a fast song, so I get it. But glad It's So Easy still in there. So now it's in the middle of the set. Rocket Queen, preceded by band introductions. Guitar solo, Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Double Trouble. I didn't actually hear this one, but damn, I actually kind of do want to hear Double Trouble. One of my favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. So I think that's pretty cool he did that. They did Sweet Child of Mine, of course, got a great reception from the crowd. People love it. Then they did November Rain. And right before November Rain, Axl had mentioned, now officially out loud to the crowd, that they had about 30 minutes left, and he said this is going to be the longest fucking version of November Rain they've ever heard. And it wasn't. He did the normal thing. I think he was just joking around. Then they did Wichita Lineman, Jimmy Webb cover. This is a very polarizing song in the GNR world. Some people like it, some people hate it. You know, some people are so sick and tired of it. It's been in the set list for years, and I found it humorous that pretty much right after Axl said, like, we're running short on time, they went into Wichita Lineman. Like, you would think that they would play like an original song, especially right after saying that. But yeah, Wichita Lineman's still there. And yeah, you know, this set list is very typical of the set list over the last few years. Nothing too crazy. And I just think like this middle part of the set list is like, you have Knocking on Heaven's Door, you have November Rain, then you have Wichita Lineman. And it's just, I just think it really slows the set down, personally. And then the next song is Patience. It's like another slow song. Just not a big fan of how they do those. They had the Led Zeppelin Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You intro to Patience. But yeah, and then they did Night Train. And I will say about Night Train, one thing that did resonate with me was Isaac Carpenter's groove. I thought Night Train had a really good groove, and I thought he did a good job of that. I think he was a big part of why the groove sounded so good. And then they went straight into Paradise City. Once again, I have to echo the same sentiments about Night Train. I think Isaac Carpenter had a better groove on Paradise City. It just sounded better. Excuse me. So that was a couple things I thought about Night Train and Paradise City. And they didn't do an encore, they just did it straight through, 22 songs. And that was the end of the set. And yeah, once again, due to the time constraints, makes me wonder if maybe they could have gotten a few more songs in if they started on time. So, you know, that kind of sucks. But yeah, as far as Isaac Carpenter goes, I thought he did a solid job. He did a fine job. He didn't do anything to blow me away. I thought, you know, he did a formidable job. But the one thing I did have a problem with, I thought his drum kit sounded so much like Frank's old drum kit. It's like the tone didn't change, and I hated Frank's tone. So that was something that was like disappointing to me. It sounded very similar to Frank's drumming just because of the tone of the drum set. But I thought he brought a youthful energy to the band. He's definitely much younger than these guys. He was shirtless most of the concert, but he definitely, I thought he brought a youthful energy that the band needs, to be honest with you. But yeah, overall, everybody else I thought did a fine job. Slash was fine, Duff was fine. I thought some of the background vocals from like Duff and Melissa and Dizzy were kind of goofy at times. Especially because they seemed like they were very high up in the mix at times, especially with how Axl was struggling. Maybe that's why that they were higher up in the mix than it normally is, maybe. But yeah, I thought everyone else was fine, and just a very typical show. Nothing too crazy. It was a fine show, and I believe this is the first time they're playing in South Korea. They played in South Korea with the reunited lineup, so I'm happy for those fans, and it was a lot of fun to follow along on the MyGNR forum, of course, as it always is, and also with the other websites and apps that I listed beforehand. So glad Guns N' Roses is back at it. We'll see what this tour brings. I did see one person that commented on the tour title after the show. They were like, because what you want and what you this fucking name is so long. Because what you want and what you get are two completely different things. This guy said they really lived up to that tour title, which I thought was hilarious. You can't go into these concerts expecting like anything crazy. I mean, once again, they are older. Axl, he doesn't sound good anymore. He definitely has a lot of Mickey Mouse and a lot of Herbert the Pervert vibes. But to me, I just enjoy like being fortunate enough to be able to see them, and the fact that they're still doing this and that I'm able to follow my favorite band of all time is still a lot of fun to me, and I enjoy it. And I am like being critical, and I think it's fair criticism. I'm not being malicious or anything, and I'm not just trying to be a dick, and I'm not upset. It's just what Guns N' Roses is right now. You can't go into it expecting like anything too crazy. It's really a nostalgia tour, and it's what you should kind of label it as, because I mean it has been for years, and that's just the fact of the matter. But I'm glad that they're back on the road. Interested to see Isaac Carpenter get more comfortable with the band, form some more chemistry. There was no You Could Be Mine in this show. There was no Civil War. Duff didn't do his solo spot. Once again, I can't stress this enough about this show. It's not a regular like Guns N' Roses show. This is a shortened set, and you should expect to see a longer set. Even though they did about 2.5 hours, you should expect to see a longer set in the future at their regular gigs with more songs. And I'm interested to see if The General gets back on the set list. I'm sure we'll see Civil War. I'm sure we'll see You Could Be Mine. But there's some other ones. Maybe Monsters gets released sometime during this tour, and that'd be awesome. But man, thinking about how Axl would be able to pull off Monsters, I don't know if he could, because that is very vocally demanding. But Guns N' Roses, man, back at it. They started in 1985, and here we are in 2025. How many fucking years is that? 40 years. That's just insane to think about. You got to give these guys props. They're still doing it. So that's all I got for you about this concert. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you can comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.